United's mess, Ronaldo is embarrassed, fans livid and Pogba wants out. After Manchester United lost 6-1 at home to neighbours City at Old Trafford 10 years ago, defender Patrice Evra was stopped on his way home by a supporter as he filled his car up with petrol. "Don't worry," Evra was told. "We are still the best team." United subsequently won their next 5 games without conceding a goal and did not lose again in the Premier League until New Year's Eve. In the end, City sneaked the title from their rivals only on goal difference. A decade on and United are a club awash with introspection once more. Once again the margin at Old Trafford was 5 goals. Last Sunday's 5-0 home defeat by Liverpool has been described by manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as his darkest moment in the game. This time, the chances of immediate recovery seem remote. That City defeat felt freakish. The Liverpool result did not. Solskjaer's team have the look of a poor one that's getting worse. On Saturday evening they are at Spurs. Next Saturday it's City, the champions, at home. It feels ominous, and at the club there have been discussions among board members about what to do next. There is no desire to sack Solskjaer. It is still an absolute last-ditch, no alternative option, a source told Sportsmail this week. Nevertheless, United are 7th in the table and heading south. As such, possible replacements have been talked about. Antonio Conte is not a particularly favoured option. The former Chelsea manager has a reputation for being volatile and is expensive. One well-placed source explained that United have been burned by their experience with Solskjaer's predecessor José Mourinho and do not want to return to those days of festering toxicity. Sir Alex Ferguson, the last man to bring United a title in 2013, is supportive of Solskjaer but continues to hanker after former Spurs boss Mauricio Pochettino and, ideally, United would like a British coach or at least one with Premier League experience. Someone, for example, like Leicester's Brendan Rodgers. But the Northern Irishman has already turned down Tottenham and Newcastle. Unhelpfully, Rodgers would like the job at City when Pep Guardiola moves on. So United see no easy way out of their current fix. Conte has not been ruled out. The Italian is available and interested, and, if things continue to slide under Solskjaer, he may yet get the call. But for the moment, and if not necessarily for the right reasons, Solskjaer limps on. At 1 p.m. on Friday, Solskjaer looked into a Zoom camera for his pre-match press conference ahead of Saturday's game. "I am good," he said. "Why should I not be?" After that came 15 minutes of typical Solskjaer rhetoric. "The mood in training had been good," he said. "The players must show character and courage. Unfortunately, it's a routine wearing thin." Within his squad, there remains a will for Solskjaer to succeed. His players like him. Equally, there is no longer a belief that he can take them where they need to go. Cristiano Ronaldo, the stellar signing of United's summer, is understood to be embarrassed by the team's recent efforts. Paul Pogba has already decided he does not wish to stay beyond the length of a contract that expires next summer. Among the United support, meanwhile, there has been an unmistakable drift away from backing Solskjaer. This week United were able to send 2 players on a school visit for the first time since the restrictions around the COVID-19 pandemic were relaxed. It was a landmark moment for a club that values the work of its foundation. Captain Harry Maguire and keeper Tom Heaton went to a school specializing in teaching children with learning difficulties, but United's official social media accounts publicized the visit only to find supporters posting abusive comments towards Maguire in particular. Pretty soon, the club disabled the comments section. Meanwhile, a club Twitter post commemorating the birthday of Munich hero, the late Harry Gregg, attracted reactions such as "number Olio ut" and "number higher Conte." Internet content should never be taken as an accurate representative of any fanbase. Nevertheless, there is a growing sense of dismay and resentment among United fans now that has probably not been witnessed since the early days of Ferguson in the late 1980s. A new breed of supporter weaned on a diet on trophies and glory has simply not been here before. The old guard, meanwhile, see a team a million miles away from the standards expected down the years. Last Sunday, hundreds left their seats with more than a third of the game still remaining. As the editor of the Red News fanzine, Barney Chilton, told Sportsmail, "We were embarrassed against Liverpool, and it's not a one-off. This is endemic now. You can't put up with that and accept it. You must have standards. I feel disgusted by United, and it's been so long since I've felt disgusted by a United team. I've never seen so many people leave. I've never left that early. I didn't want to do it, but it's not going to get any better." On Friday, Solskjaer referred to the 2 or 3 crises he has survived during this time as manager. One in particular is pertinent. In December 2019, after a 2-2 home draw with Aston Villa, United were ninth in the Premier League and 22 points behind leaders Liverpool. Coincidentally, their next two games were against Tottenham and City. Solskjaer's team won both and eventually finished third. It was a different United team that day against Villa. It had Juan Mata, Anthony Martial, Dan James and Andreas Pereira in it. In other words, Solskjaer had excuses back then. He hasn't now. What irks so many United fans is that for the first time in a while their club has a squad that should be good enough to challenge for a league title. All is not perfect. One influential United figure this week was doubting the wisdom of spending £80 million on Jadon Sancho, while at the same time describing Donny van de Beek as one of the worst United signings in history. Nevertheless, this is a United squad that broadly speaking is fit for purpose. Yet the depressing one step forward, two steps back trajectory experienced under coaches like Mourinho and, before him, Louis van Gaal remains. United's decline started the moment Ferguson stood down in May 2013, of course, and comparisons with the David Moyes experiment that followed are valid now. Back then Moyes struggled to motivate a group of aging players such as Evra, Rio Ferdinand, Nemanja Vidic and Robin van Persie. In some ways, that group had the look of one almost waiting for Moyes to fail. This time it's different. Solskjaer presides over a squad of players either in or approaching their prime. They are desperate for him to succeed, but increasingly do not see a pathway out of the darkness. And all the while, in the background, is Ferguson and one wonders how much that really helps. Solskjaer still calls him boss and for a while was wary of parking in his old space at Carrington. He admitted on Friday that the two had spoken at the training ground this week. It was a chance meeting, but it serves to continue the false narrative that nothing moves at United without Ferguson knowing about it. The Scot, for example, has no input on United transfers. Ferguson, visibly dismayed by United's performance, while in the director's box last Sunday, once said of Liverpool, "From adversity the really illustrious clubs always return to their cycle of winning." Liverpool proved him right. They swam back to the surface eventually. So now they are privately able to scoff at United's £50 million outlay on a Brazilian midfielder like Fred, just as Ferguson once derided their purchase of another, Lucas Leiva. "We were offered him," Ferguson once said. "Not good enough." But now it's his club caught in the reeds, gasping for air. United finished second last season, but anybody could see that was not representative. Solskjaer's team suffered virtually no injuries as teams such as Liverpool and Chelsea struggled. United's response to all that was to give their manager a new contract. It runs until the middle of 2024.